Hey guys, today we're going to review the quarter three benchmark review. We're going to go through some of the slides. I do strongly urge you to look through the slides again after this presentation. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's look at today's learning target and the criteria. Learning target is W6.5. It just says with guidance and support from peers and adults, you will develop and strengthen your writing as needed. Yes, that means we are going to strengthen our writing. Go ahead and start moaning now. I know we hate it, but we're going to do it. And then the criteria: identify areas of strength in your body paragraph, and then identify areas that need improvement. And the last thing is revise my body paragraph to at least one level higher than previously scored. So by the end of the lesson, you're working on it on Monday and Tuesday, today and tomorrow. You should be able to master all three of these criteria. All right, I'm going to be modeling a mastery leveled paragraph to an advanced. The paragraph is going to be on Animals Asia, Animals and Entertainment. Your task is going to select either paragraph on What Do Zoos Do or Elephants and Us to revise that. You cannot revise the Animals Asia, Animals and Entertainment paragraph, because I'm going to be giving you the answers to that paragraph. So you have to select either What Do Zoos Do or Elephants and Us. If you scored an advanced on the essay, then you're going to write your paragraph on last week's homework, which was The Zoos Go Wild. All right, let's jump in. For the next 3 slides, I'm going to show you the answers to the writing prompt. I know your teachers have told you this. I've told my students this. Use the multiple choice answers. Most of your essay is in your multiple choice answers. We're going to look at all 3 of the graphic organizers for Animals Asia, Animals and Entertainment, What Do Zoos Do, and Elephants and Us. You're also going to see the multiple choice questions that correspond with the actual writing prompt. Now, I know that the questions were worded differently than maybe you were used to. However, you have to start reading and understanding what the question is truly asking. If you really read the question and understood what it was asking, then you would have known that you could have used these answers in your essay. Each slide is going to show you the title of the text, the multiple choice answers that would have helped you, and the topic, structure, purpose, and central ideas of the passages. All right, what do zoos do? Questions 3, 4, and 5 would have helped you write your essay. The topic obviously was zoos and what they do. Zoos helping endangered animals. I told my students to look at the title to help you identify what the topic is. Then think about, what does the author really want you to know about the topic? Well, the entire passage was about zoos working locally and around the world to preserve wildlife. So if you see on this graphic organizer, you'll see 2 red circles. You have one over here by central idea, and then you have one over here by the organization. We circled these for a reason, because they have to go together. These are the 2 main parts of your essay. These are the answers to your essay. Some of us left these answers out of our essay. Central idea is zoos are working locally and around the world to preserve wildlife. Now the prompt's asking, how did the author convey this idea? How did the author show us that zoos are working locally and around the world to preserve wildlife? Well, let's take a look over here. They introduced and described a problem about animals being endangered. Then they provided several examples of what zoos are doing to help these endangered animals. Problem, solution. The author was able to convey the idea that zoos are working locally and around the world to preserve, to help, to save wildlife by introducing their problem and then the solution. Okay? Moving on to the article from Elephants and Us. The questions that could have helped you are questions 9, 10, and 11. Now, let's look at the central idea for this one. This one was a little bit tricky. Actually, let's talk about the title. It's called Elephants and Us. So I told my students, look at the title to help you identify what the topic is. Now, if the title is Elephants and Us, then what could this passage possibly be about? Elephants and us? Well, who are the us? Humans. The topic was about elephants and humans. What did the author want you to know specifically about elephants and humans? Well, if you looked at the passage, the very first sentence gives you the central idea. Elephants play a role in the lives and culture of the people in Africa and Asia. This was the central idea. Well, how did the author show us this idea? How did the author convey the idea that elephants play a role in the lives? How did the author convey the idea that elephants play a role in the culture of people of Africa and Asia? Well, they used a sequence of history between humans and elephants. They described the problems between humans and elephants. They did do that. Some of us put problem and solution text structure as the way the author developed this text, but you didn't connect it to a problem between elephants and humans, like their lives together. You just described the problem of elephants being killed or elephants destroying humans' crops. Now, if you talked about the relationship in your reasoning, you would have probably received credit for it. But some of us didn't connect those things. They also were able to convey this idea looking at the graphic representation. So the pictures and the subheadings, they were able to do that as well to convey the idea that elephants are important to the lives and culture of people in Africa and Asia. All right, moving on to the last one, Animals, Asia, and Animals, Entertainment. Now, the questions that could have helped you were questions 15 and 16. So what was the topic? Well, looking at this title, it says Animals, Asia, and then there's like a little colon here, and it says Animals and Entertainment. So this right here, Animals, Asia, it's not saying Asian animals, the animals of Asia. It's Animals, Asia. It's an organization. It's a group of people. And if you didn't understand that from reading the text, then if you looked at the title, you could see that they're separating Animals Asia from Animals and Entertainment. So it's like these people are talking about animals and entertainment. So these could potentially be the authors of this passage. So the topic is Animals Asia. Now, what did the author want you to know specifically about Animals Asia? Well, probably something to do with animals and entertainment. It says Animals Asia raises awareness and works to solve problems with animals used in entertainment. All right. Well, how did the author convey this idea that Animals Asia is working to solve problems? Well, they were able to introduce all of the problems, solve problems, problem solution. They showed you the problem of using animals in entertainment. They used several anecdotes to kind of make you feel sorry, pathos. They used that. They described a solution, the Animals Asia organization. And they had a very negative tone and extreme language towards abusing animals. They had a very positive tone about Animals Asia, the actual organization, and saying that they're solving all these problems, but they had a negative tone towards the issue at hand, which was animals being used in entertainment. So these are the answers. Please go back and review all three of these slides before you do your revisions. Especially look at the slide that you're going to be making your revisions on. It should not be Animals Asia, Animals and Entertainment. All right. Some common mistakes from the quarter 3 benchmark. Introduction. You didn't answer both parts of the prompts. Come on. So a good introduction should have the authors of this article and this article develop different ideas about a similar topic. Different ideas. Some of us decided to put that they had similar ideas. They did not have a similar idea. None of those central ideas that I just read were similar. Now, were they on a similar topic? Yes, animals. They all three were about animals or preserving wildlife. Not all of it. Well, Elephants and Us wasn't about preserving wildlife, but they were all about animals. So they had a similar topic, but they didn't have the same idea. They had different ideas. Both authors developed their ideas in similar ways, or you could have said both authors developed their ideas in different ways. Now, what I've told students, you cannot put they developed their ideas similarly and differently. That does not make sense. How could they develop them similarly and differently? If you said they used some techniques that were similar and some techniques that were different, that's fine. because now you're being specific and you're identifying that they didn't fully develop their central ideas the same way. They used some techniques that were similar and they used some techniques that were different. Another issue was the weak organization. Never have you been shown a model essay that has the similarities in one paragraph and the differences in another. You should not have organized your essay that way. And secondly, the prompt did not ask you to compare the author's purpose or compare the texts. Some of us compared the author's purpose and some compared just the texts. It's asking you specifically for the central idea and to compare and contrast how those ideas were developed. In the body paragraphs, the claims, your first sentence or sentences were unclear. Instead of stating, this is the central idea, this is how it was developed, you kind of just answered it without being very specific. So they were not clear. You're missing the titles. You had the wrong central idea or a missing central idea altogether. The evidence that you used was either missing or it was irrelevant. It didn't really support the actual central idea. It didn't support your claim. The text evidence you used was out of order. And then lastly, the reasoning was weak. You need to focus on how the central idea was developed. That is what the prompt is asking you. How did the author convey this idea? Explain it. Explain how this evidence proves that they're conveying it through pathos. Explain how this evidence proves that this is a problem. Explain how this evidence proves that this is the solution. Okay, so you have to be able to explain your answer in your own words for your reasoning. All right, before the revisions, I'm going to read this first body paragraph, and then we're going to take a look at some things that we're going to change about it. We're going to look at some of the common mistakes within this first body paragraph. But before, I'm just going to read it from beginning to end. All right. The author of Animals Asia, Animals and Entertainment developed the idea that animal entertainment is harsh and that the conditions are not good for any animals, so we should stop using animals for entertainment. The author states in paragraph 4, the conditions at zoos, shows, circuses, and amusement parks in which these animals are kept are usually at best unsuitable and at worst brutal and cruel. The harsh conditions the animals must endure is brutal in the perspective of the author, Animals Asia, Animals and Entertainment. The author of Animals Asia, Animals and Entertainment developed this idea by using a problem and solution because in this text, the author explains the problem that people are putting animals in harsh conditions for entertainment. The author states in paragraph 5, the training techniques adopted to force animals to perform tricks are also often barbaric. The problem is described in the text, then the author talks about how this is having a bigger effect on the ecosystem. This is when the author describes a solution to stop these conditions animals must endure. The author states in paragraph 4, Animal Asia campaigns for an end to these abusive animal practices in Asian zoos and safari parks and works to increase awareness of the welfare needs of the captive animals. All right, so there are a couple of things highlighted here, but there are more mistakes than just what's highlighted. The first thing I want to state is the title. The title. This is not capitalized. You need to make sure that you capitalize the title. It says the author of Animals Asia, Animals Entertainment developed the idea, and now this is where the central idea is. It says animal entertainment is harsh and that the conditions are not good for any animal, so we should stop using animals for entertainment. Now, if you go back a couple of slides, I gave you the answer. It was one of the multiple choice questions. Make sure you're using the central idea from the test questions. Second thing, right after this sentence, you need to identify how the author developed the text. So this goes straight into evidence. The author states in paragraph 4, no, the author developed this idea by using problem and solution should be right after this sentence. This is correct. The author did use a problem and solution organizational text structure to convey this idea, but it needs to be in your claim. Your claim restates and answers all parts of the prompt. So make sure all parts of your prompt are in your claim. It's called a SIR paragraph, not a CECR paragraph. So make sure your claim, evidence, reasoning. All right. So again, the answers to the questions are used for the claim. Another thing is the prompt asks, how does the author develop the central idea? So the reasoning that's used needs to convey that. It needs to express that. It should explain how the author developed the idea. This is when the author describes the solution. This is not explaining it. You need to explain how this is the solution. You need to explain how the author is using this solution to convey this idea. All right? And then the text evidence. Make sure that the text evidence you use truly, fully supports the central idea. Again, use the multiple choice answers. This evidence just happens to be out of order. So paragraph 4, then paragraph 5, and then back to paragraph 4. Make sure you're using it all in order. All right, let's take a look at the revised essay. The revised paragraph. All right, so the author of Animals Asia, Animals and Entertainment develops the idea that Animals Asia organization raises awareness and works to solve problems with animals used in entertainment. Not only did I correctly cite the title of the text, I also added the sentence that states the central idea. Question 15. Then, to develop this idea, the author used logos, pathos, and a problem and solution text structure. So now I added the sentence that states the technique that was used to develop the purpose and idea. This is question 16 from the test. So now I'm using 2 of my questions from the test to help me fix my answer. Prove how you know this is right. Let's take a look. I added text evidence of the problem and solution that support the central idea. I made sure to include evidence from question 15. So, in many cases, practices of using animals for entertainment compromises their welfare. So the organization Animals Asia tries to bring public attention to the exploitation of animals. This clearly supports Animals Asia working to raise awareness. It clearly supports a problem because it compromises their welfare, their well-being. And this also clearly identifies pathos. They're trying to convince you that this group is, working to solve this problem by making you feel bad. Another one, Animals Asia continues to expose the brutality of the training that these animals are subjected to. Again, Animals Asia, the central idea is Animals Asia is raising awareness, exposes the brutality, so raising awareness that these animals are exposed to. So again, this clearly supports a central idea. And then the last piece of evidence. Animals Asia Conservation Program works tirelessly with government officials to pass and enforce laws that will improve the negative impacts on wildlife populations. Again, they're talking about Animals Asia raising awareness. This is Animals Asia raising awareness by getting the government officials to pass laws so that they can stop using animals in entertainment. So all 3 of these pieces of evidence perfectly support not only the central idea, but the development, problem, solution, pathos, logos. They're giving you logical information to convince you of these ideas as well. All right, now the reasoning. So I added reasoning that explains how and why the author developed his idea. The reasoning connects back to Animals Asia and how they are working to solve the problem with animals being abused for the entertainment of humans. So Yes, they're called SIR paragraphs, so claim, evidence, reasoning, because you need at least two pieces of evidence. But your little description of the text before the evidence is very important. You need to introduce what you're about to explain. So in paragraph 1, the author introduces the problem and the solution that they will spend the rest of the article explaining. Well, this is reasoning because it's explaining that this is how the author conveyed their ideas. You're explaining it, and then you're proving it. Here, the author clearly states their opinion or claim that the Animals Asia organization is trying to bring public attention to the exploitation of animals. The author also appeals to the reader's emotions by stating the welfare of the animals being compromised, which makes the reader feel sympathy for the poor animals. This clearly explains how this is pathos. How does this evidence prove that the author is using pathos? How does this evidence prove that the author wanted to convey this idea? They do this so they can later explain how Animals Asia is working to solve this problem. Again, I'm connecting everything back to Animals Asia, which is my central idea, my topic. Working to solve the problem. Problem and solution text structure. Then the author spends several paragraphs describing and explaining the work that Animals Asia organization does to solve the problem of animals being used for entertainment. One example that the author includes is in paragraph 5. Next, this use of pathos, again, makes the reader feel sorry for the animals. So when they're saying that brutality of training conveys the idea that Animals Asia is the solution. So pathos, problem and solution, Animals Asia. He continues describing the group as a solution in paragraph 6. So by including several solutions about Animals Asia, the author thoroughly develops his idea that this organization is trying to solve the problem of animals being abused for the entertainment of humans. So read this one more time before you start your revisions, but this is what we're looking for. All right, there's a clear difference between the before and after paragraphs. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that your paragraph has to be twice as long. That's not the goal. It's just as long as you are answering the question and explaining it and proving it, that's all we need. I'm going to reflect before. So which paragraph will you be rewriting? Are you going to rewrite What Do Zoos Do or Elephants and Us? Or are you going to rewrite The Zoos Go Wild? The Zoos Go Wild is only if you scored an advanced on your benchmark essay. Once you have made your choice, read through your paragraph carefully and ask yourself the following questions. Your task. You're going to have to log into Elluminate, open your Quarter 3 benchmark exam. I need you to reread your entire essay. Just make sure that you're reading it from beginning to end. We understand that this was a time test, and we do take that into consideration when grading. Reading it, open up Google Classroom. You're going to see an assignment titled Benchmark Paragraph Rewrite. You're going to type your revised paragraph there. So remember to use the information in this slideshow to help you. You can go back through the slideshow to help you revise your information. In particular, the slides you want to look at are the 3 slides with the answers and the slide with the revised paragraph. Those are the slides you want to pay close attention to. Once you're done, you're going to submit the revised paragraph to Google Classroom when you have finished. You're going to be graded on a 4-point rubric at the bottom of the Google Doc. So just make sure that you read the rubric and know where you're getting your points from. And really use the answers that are given to you in the slideshow, and then use the model to kind of help guide you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email your teacher, ask a friend for help, ask a parent for help. We understand that this is a very new way of teaching and learning, and we wanted you to know that all of us are here for you. We want to support you, and we want to make sure that this is successful and that you're not stressed out. It's just one paragraph. You can do it. It's going to be okay. Yes, sometimes I change my accent, so you're going to have to get used to this, okay? We hope all is well. Stay safe, and let us know if you have any questions.